Southeast Asia civilization. History of Southeast Asia. Cultural influence in Southeast Asia comes at first either from India or China. In the 1st century BC, Indian traders penetrate Burma. The Thai were also threatened from the west by the Burmese people who had formed their society along the Salween and Irrawaddy rivers. The Burmese had migrated from Tibet beginning in the 600s probably to escape Chinese armies. The Burmese were pastoral people but they adopted farming soon after their arrival in Southeast Asia. In the 11th century, they founded the first great Burmese state, the Kingdom of Bagan. Like the Thai, they converted to Buddhism and adopted Indian political institutions and culture. During the next 200 years, Bagan became a major force in the western part of Southeast Asia. The capital city was at the center of a network of highways, which allowed it to exert power over large distances. It has also played an active role in sea trades throughout their region. Attacks by the Mongols in the late 1200s, however, weakened Bagan caused it to decline. Further east in Vietnam, Bronze Age culture infiltrates gradually from China at some time before the 3rd century BC. With these exemptions, the region is still occupied at this time by Neolithic communities. The Kingdom of Nam Viet, a narrow coastal strip of Southeast Asia between the Red River and the Mekong, or the extent of modern Vietnam, becomes prosperous when rice begins to be cultivated in the last few centuries BC. It also offers useful harbors for merchant ships to trade round the coast. On both counts, it is of interest to a powerful neighbor to the north, the Empire of China. In about 207 BC, an imperial delegate to the Red River region around modern Hanoi sets himself as a ruler of a kingdom called Nam Viet. A century later, when the Han dynasty extending the reach of the Chinese Empire, Nam Viet is annexed. From 111 BC, it is listed as a Chinese province.
Life in early Southeast Asia. The states of Southeast Asia can be divided into two groups. Agricultural societies whose economics were largely based on farming, and trading societies which depended primarily on trade for income. States such as Vietnam, Angkor, Pagan, and Sailandra drew most of their wealth from the land. Others such as Srivijaya and the Sultanate of Malacca supported themselves chiefly through trade. At the top of the social ladder in most Southeast Asian societies were the hereditary aristocrats. They held both political and economic wealth. Most aristocrats lived in the major cities. Angkor Thom, for example, was a city with royal palaces and parks, a massive parade ground, reservoirs, and numerous temples. Beyond the major cities lived the rest of the population, which consisted of farmers, fishers, artisans, and merchants. In most Southeast Asian societies, the majority of people were probably rice farmers who lived at a bare level of subsistence, paid heavy rents or taxes to a landlord or local ruler. Most of the societies in Southeast Asia gave greater rights to women than did their counterparts in China and India. Women worked side by side with men in the fields and often played an active role in trading activities. Hindu and Buddhist ideas began to move into Southeast Asia in the first millennium AD. However, the new religions did not entirely replace existing beliefs. In all Southeast Asian societies, as in China and Japan, old beliefs were blended with those of the new faiths. In this process, the king played a central role. The ruler of Angkor, for example, was seen as a living link between the people and the gods. Buddhism also spread to Southeast Asia. It made little impact, however, until the introduction of Theravada Buddhism in the 11th century. From Burma, Theravada spread rapidly to other areas of Southeast Asia. Eventually, Theravada Buddhism became the religion of the masses in much of Southeast Asia. It teaches that people can seek nirvana through their own efforts. They do not need priests or rulers. Moreover, it tolerated local gods and posed no threat to established faith.
Bilang pagpapatuloy sa report ni Ms. Shine, dumako naman tayo sa Sumatra at Java from the 7th century. Meanwhile, similar Hindu or Buddhist monarchies have been established in the Malay archipelago, in the Malay Peninsula itself, and in the islands of Sumatra and Java. From the 9th to 12th century, rulers in these territories built spectacular temple complexes in the service of one of other of the Indian religions. The great shrine of Borobudur in Java is one of the earliest to survive, dating from about 800s. In the tradition of Buddhist stupa, it is a monument rather than a building. The stupa rises from the center of massive step pyramid base decorated with reliefs depicting the stages of Buddhist enlightenment. Samantala, ang mga katulad ng monarkiya ng Hindu o Budismo ay naitatag mismo doon sa kapuluan ng Malay at mismo sa isla ng Sumatra at Java. Mula sa ika-9 hanggang sa ika-12 siglo, ang mga pinuno sa mga teritoryong ito ay nagtayo ng mga kamanghamanghang templo bilang pagkilala o paglingkod sa isa o iba pang relihiyon sa India. As a respect, yung mga pinuno po doon, nagtayo din po sila ng mga iba't ibang klaseng templo. Isa sa templo ay ang The Great Shrine of Borobudur. Ang pinakadakilang dambana ng Borobudur ay isa sa pinakamaagang nakaligtas mula noong 800s. Meaning, ang The Great Shrine of Borobudur sa mga nagdaang siglo, ito po ay nakaligtas sa mga mananakop, sa mga nagdaang giyera. Sa tradisyon naman ng Budismo, ang Buddhist stupa, ito ay isang monumento sa halip na isang gusali. Ang stupa ay tumataas mula sa gitna ng isang napakalaking step pyramid at ito ay may mga palamuti na naglalarawan ng tagayugto ng mga yugto ni Buddhist enlightenment. Sa relihiyong Budismo naman, ang pinatayo nilang templo ay ang Buddhist stupa. Ito ay isang monumento.
Over the course of time, the region of Southeast Asia established major developments seen in other parts of the world, as well as events that have affected those other regions. It traces major transcultural phenomena from the religious to commercial that spanned multiple periods and geographical regions. That's why Southeast Asia is considered to be the home of the Malay.
By the 11th century, the Mon have been largely replaced by Burmese in the west and are under pressure from Thais in the region now known as Thailand. The Burmese and the Thais are tribal groups, facing southwards from region to the east of Tibet.